He held a huge black umbrella, covering himself completely, leaving half my shoulder soaked. The photographer called out, "Bride and groom, move closer. Smile." I forced a smile that couldn't have been faker. Jiang Rowan glanced at me, his eyes cold behind his glasses. "Shinhazel, you look like you're about to blow up a bunker. Is it that bad?" "It is," I gritted my teeth. "Marrying you is more heroic than blowing up a bunker." He chuckled, reached out with one long arm, and draped it over my shoulder perfunctorily. Even through the thin fabric, I could feel how stiff his arm muscles were. It was like hugging a block of ice-cold wood. Frozen for 10 years. The flashlight flashed with a click. When the photo came out, my smile was ferocious, his face expressionless. Perfect match. A match made in hell. The red marriage certificate was still warm in my hand. I squeezed it as if holding a burning iron. "Jiang Rowan." I waved the certificate. "Pleasant cooperation?" He pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up his nose and uttered two thin words, "Mutual effort." His tone was as flat as commenting on the weather. We'd been at odds since childhood. He was the perfect kid everyone talked about. I was that wild girl from the Shin family. In kindergarten, he snatched the castle I built with blocks, so I smeared plasticine all over his face. In primary school, he was the team leader, checking red scarves and singled me out every time, getting me punished to stand. In junior high, he gave speeches on behalf of the students, and I rolled my eyes so hard I cramped. High school. That was a real battlefield. He was always first, I was forever second. I fought like crazy to pull him off his pedestal, failing every time. The closest I ever got was a monthly exam. I stayed up reviewing until 3 in the morning, only to run a fever the next day and leave the last 2 major math questions blank. When the results came out, he was still first. I dropped out of the top 10. He stopped me in front of the honor roll, his tone infuriating. "Shinhazel, good game." I almost fainted from anger. University was even more ridiculous. He studied finance, I studied design, completely unrelated. But our family companies were rivals. My father's Qing Yuan Real Estate and his father's Jiangmin Group fought tooth and nail over land and projects in the same city. As our father's worthy successors, we were naturally pushed to the front line. We ran into each other at banquets. He held a champagne flute, smiling faintly. "Miss Shen, what a coincidence." I smiled without meaning it. "Rowan, you're everywhere." When our glasses clinked, our eyes clashed 100 times over. No one saw it coming. After fighting for over a decade, both families' capital chains were on the verge of collapse. The two grandfathers slapped their thighs, "Stop fighting. Marry each other. Integrate resources and survive together." And so, Jiang Rowan and I, sworn enemies who'd gladly strangle each other, were sacrificed to the altar of a political marriage. Wedding. None. The two families sat together for a meal, and that counted as the ceremony. At the dinner table, parents on both sides exchanged business compliments, all smiles. Jiang Rowan and I sat at the main seats like two fine porcelain dolls forced together. He placed a piece of sweet and sour ribs on my plate, his voice gentle enough to drip water. "Hazel, eat more." I stared at the shiny, oily rib on his chopsticks and my stomach churned. This man hated sweet food more than anything, especially sweet and sour. Now he was acting like the perfect husband. I picked up the rib and dropped it back into his bowl, smiling sweetly. "You've worked hard, husband. You eat it." His eyes flickered behind his glasses. He said nothing and ate it silently. I left the dinner with indigestion. Afterward, he drove me back to my apartment. Not a word the whole way. When we reached the building, he left the engine running. "Shinhazel," he stared ahead, his tone returning to his usual coldness. "You read the agreement, right?" I did. I unbuckled my seatbelt. No interference, no disturbance. Live our own lives except for necessary occasions. 3-year term, split when it ends. Crystal clear. Good. He nodded. Pleasant cooperation. Pleasant. I pushed the door open and got out without looking back. In the rearview mirror, the black Bentley stayed for a few seconds before slowly driving away. Good. The marriage of convenience should be fake. Living separately, peace and quiet. My life didn't change much. Except that my marital status on my ID became married. With an annoying name in the spouse column. My design studio had just started, and I was swamped. Taking orders, drawing plans, visiting construction sites, fighting with difficult clients. Jiang Rowan. Oh, right, my legal husband. He was as faint as a shadow in my life. Occasionally I saw him on financial news, in a tailored suit, looking proper, talking confidently to the camera. I swiped and skipped right past. Out of sight, out of mind. The only interaction was the monthly dinner at the Jiang family's old house. That was our fake marriage performance time. At the old house, we played a newlywed couple respectful to each other. He served me soup, I peeled shrimp for him. He pulled out my chair, I fixed his tie. Grandpa Jiang beamed from ear to ear, look how well matched. I knew you two were meant to be. Jiang Rowan and I exchanged a glance and looked away in perfect sync. Matched my ass. After dinner, he drove me back to my apartment. Still the same black Bentley, still silent the whole way. When we reached the building, I unbuckled my seatbelt. Next month, he said suddenly, his voice deep in the enclosed car. My grandfather's 80th birthday. It'll be a big event. You. Get ready. Got it. I pushed the door. Need matching outfits, President Jiang. He shot me a look and didn't reply. The door closed, cutting off his expressionless face. Good. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Only with the Pacific Ocean between us could Jiang Rowan and I barely keep the peace. The studio landed a big contract, full design for an internet-famous homestay. The client had high demands, a tight budget, and was incredibly picky. With my assistant Lin Xiao, I pulled several all-nighters, revising drafts until I wanted to vomit blood. The plan finally passed, and construction started, then disaster struck. The foreman called urgently, Hazel. Bad news. Fire inspection failed. They say some boards don't meet fire resistance standards. We have to tear everything down and redo it. My mind went blank. Those boards were expensive, and we couldn't afford delays. I rushed to the construction site immediately, then ran to the fire department. I talked until my lips were raw, only to get the same cold reply, rules are rules. The purchasing manager had sworn those boards were fine. Now he was unreachable, and the supplier was passing the buck. I stood on the site pile with defective boards, staring at the mess, my heart sinking to the bottom. If this deal fell through, I'd lose money. And ruin the studio's newly built reputation. My phone rang. It was Jiang Rowan. He rarely called me 主动. I answered irritably, hello. Where are you? There was noise in the background. He was probably at a banquet. Construction site. I snapped. What? Send me the address. Why? Send it. His tone left no room for argument. I didn't bother arguing and sent him my location. Less than 30 minutes later, the familiar black Bentley pulled up at the gate. Jiang Rowan got out, wearing a perfectly tailored dark gray suit, completely out of place in the dusty surroundings. He frowned, stepped around the mud, and stopped in front of me. What's going on? I explained the situation briefly. He listened without speaking, then stepped aside and made a phone call. His voice was low. I couldn't hear the words. A few minutes later, he came back. Fire inspectors will come again tomorrow at 9. I froze. Ha. I'll have someone look into the supplier about the materials. He pushed his glasses, glancing at the boards. The loss is on me. I was dumbfounded. Why? He looked at me, his expression strange. You're my wife. If you lose money, you embarrass me. Fine. Fake marriage, face project. The next day, the fire inspectors arrived exactly on time. Their attitude was much more polite. After a careful reinspection, they pointed out a few minor issues but didn't mention tearing everything down again. The crisis was temporarily lifted. I breathed a sigh of relief. The foreman leaned over and whispered, "Hazel, your husband. He's something, huh?" I forced a smile and said nothing. That night, I took the initiative to send Jiang Rowan a WeChat message for the first time, "Thanks about the boards." He replied a long time later. Concise. I stared at that single and felt a little weird inside. Like I owed him something. On the weekend, my mom called and told me to bring Jiang Rowan home for dinner. "Hazel, you and Rowan have been married for months and haven't come back together. Your dad has been talking about it." My scalp tingled. Going back to my house. It was scarier than going to the Jiang's old place. Jiang Rowan's mouth could say anything in front of my parents. I called him reluctantly. "Jiang Rowan, my mom wants us to go home for dinner this weekend." "Got it." He sounded busy, his answer crisp. "Send me the time and address." I hesitated. "In front of my parents, can you please act loving?" He cut me off, his voice unreadable. "Don't worry. I know how to behave." Good, as long as he knew the line. On Saturday afternoon, Jiang Rowan picked me up on time. He wore a light-colored casual shirt today, less sharp than in business, a little more human. I got into the passenger seat. He glanced at me, "Seatbelt." "Oh." Silent again the whole drive. When we reached my building, he parked and pulled several exquisitely wrapped gift boxes from the back seat. Bird's nest, cordyceps, and a limited edition baijiu my dad had been talking about for ages. For me. I was surprised. Who else? He raised an eyebrow. Formal first visit. Can't skip the etiquette. Thoughtful, at least. As soon as we walked in, my mom was overly enthusiastic. "Rowan's here. Come in, come in." "Oh, you shouldn't have brought so many things." My father put on a stern air, but the moment he saw that bottle of liquor, his eyes lit up noticeably. At the dinner table, my mom started interrogating him. "Rowan, are you busy with work usually?" "Not too bad." "Hazel hasn't been giving you trouble, has she?" "She's been wild since she was little, Mom." I protested. Jiang Rowan smiled and placed some food on my plate. "Hazel is great. Independent and decisive." My hand trembled and I nearly dropped my bowl. Had the sun risen from the west? He was actually praising me. My father cleared his throat lightly. "Rowan, you young people should focus on your career. Still, family matters too. Have a child early, settle down." I nearly spat out my soup. Jiang Rowan stayed perfectly calm, responding smoothly. "Dad, Hazel and I are still young. We want to focus on our careers first. Children will come in time." Flawless. My mom turned to me. "Hazel, don't just throw yourself into that little studio all day. Settle down, take care of the family, look after Rowan." "Mom," Jiang Rowan spoke again, his voice gentle but firm, "Hazel's studio is doing really well. It has great potential. I support her." I was completely dumbfounded. Had this man lost his mind? Throughout the meal, Jiang Rowan was perfect. Polite, gentle, doting on me, winning my parents over completely. Before we left, my mom took my hand earnestly. "Hazel, Rowan is such a good man. You have to treasure him." My mouth twitched. Looking at Jiang Rowan beside me, playing the ideal son-in-law, I felt like I was dreaming. On the way back, I couldn't help asking, Jiang Rowan, did you just have an acting breakthrough today? He was driving, his side profile blurred under the streetlights. Clause 3 of the agreement: maintain each other's image in front of parents to avoid trouble. His voice was flat. I'm just upholding my end. Right. Just the agreement. There went my tiny moment of warmth. Though, he paused, hesitating for half a second, your parents. They're nice people. I huffed. Obviously. The car fell silent again. As we neared my apartment, he suddenly said, that homestay project cash flow issues? I jolted. How did you know? His fingers tapped the steering wheel. Heard Lin Shao mention it. Your little assistant cares about you. Lin Shao was my junior from university and one of my studio partners. Just a small problem. I can handle it. I didn't want to look weak in front of him. If you need help, I don't. I cut him off. I can fix it myself. He glanced at me and said nothing more. The car stopped. I unbuckled my seatbelt. Thanks, President Jiang. Great performance today. He was quiet for a few seconds, then suddenly said, Shen Hazel, do you really think everything I do has an ulterior motive? My hand froze on the door. Of course. I turned back to him. President Jiang, between us is there anything besides agreements and benefits? Streetlight filtered through the window, glinting coldly off his gold-rimmed glasses. He pressed his lips into a thin line and said nothing in the end. I closed the door and went upstairs without looking back. Something felt stuck in my chest. I couldn't even say why. The homestay project stumbled through to the finish line. The result was better than expected. The internet-famous buzz blew up, bookings exploded. The client was overjoyed, paid the balance happily, and even referred several new customers. My studio's reputation and orders both jumped a level. I was in a great mood and invited my best friend Su Wanwan out for drinks to celebrate. In the bar, lights were dim and music thundered. After a few drinks, my head started spinning. Wanwan poked my cheek. Look at you, Shen Hazel, glowing like you've fallen in love. Love. Making money is way better. I waved boldly. Men just slow down my drawing speed. Yeah, right. Wanwan rolled her eyes. Nothing between you and Jiang Rowan. Legal husband and wife. He's so good. Looking you really don't feel anything? Feel something. I scoffed. We're more like planets colliding. His cold face flashed in my mind, along with that strange question in the car that day. My chest felt inexplicably annoyed. I grabbed my glass and chugged. Hey, look over there. Wanwan suddenly nudged me, lowering her voice. The bar. The guy in the black shirt, isn't that your President Jiang? I looked where she pointed. On a high bar stool sat a familiar figure. Jiang Rowan. He wasn't in a suit, just a simple black silk shirt, 2 buttons undone at the collar, showing a clear collarbone. His side profile under the shifting bar lights looked less rigid than usual, more lazy. Sexy. He was alone, a glass of whiskey in front of him, barely touched. Several attractive women hovered nearby, but his cold, unapproachable aura kept them frozen at a distance. No way. It's really him. Wanwan got excited. He's at a bar alone. Did you two fight? Fight. Please. I talked tough. We do our own thing, no interference. It's in the agreement. Even as I spoke, my eyes kept drifting toward him. A woman in a revealing slip dress finally gathered her courage, swayed over, and sat next to him. Her red lips moved, saying something I couldn't hear. Jiang Rowan turned his head and glanced at her. Light fell on his straight nose and slightly pursed lips. My heart skipped. It felt like something had pricked me. Sour. Stuffy. I grabbed my glass and took another big gulp. Hey, slow down. Wan Wan tried to take my cup. Leave me alone. I pushed her away, stood up unsteadily, fueled by alcohol. I want to see exactly how President Jing honors no interference. I stumbled in my high heels and walked straight toward the bar. Wan Wan called after me quietly, but I ignored her. I stopped right behind Jiang Rowan and caught the slip-dressed woman's coquettish voice. Drinking alone is no fun. Let's hang out. Jiang Rowan didn't turn around. His voice was cold. Not interested. The woman looked put out. Don't be so cold. I stepped forward, placed my hand directly on Jiang Rowan's shoulder, leaned halfway into him, and smiled brightly at the woman, reeking of alcohol. Sorry, miss. He's taken. I patted his firm shoulder firmly. Off the market. The woman looked at me, then at the still Jiang Rowan, her face changing. She left in a huff. I lifted my chin proudly, pulled my hand back, and prepared to leave triumphantly. But my wrist was suddenly grabbed by a warm, dry hand. Firm grip. I turned around in shock. Jiang Rowan had turned around at some point, his deep eyes locking onto mine through his glasses. The noisy music and voices of the bar seemed to fade away instantly. Shenhazel, he said quietly, cutting clearly through the noise, are you drunk? He was close. The fresh cedar scent on him, mixed with a faint alcohol aroma, invaded my nose aggressively. My heart skipped a beat. Most of the alcohol cleared my head. None of your business. I tried to yank my hand away, but he held on tighter. I'm taking you home. He stood up, looking down at me, no room for argument. I don't need to. Wan Wan will take me. I struggled. Huh. Jiang Rowan glanced at Su Wan Wan peeking from afar. She looks more drunk than you. He didn't say another word, just pulled me outside. I was half dragged out of the bar. The night wind hit me. I shivered, the alcohol surging back, my head spinning worse. He stuffed me into the passenger seat and leaned over to fasten my belt. So close I could see his distinct eyelashes and the faint collarbone under his shirt. His clean scent, mixed with the faint whiskey, wrapped around me like an invisible net. I held my breath, my mind even more chaotic. The car started and glided smoothly into the night. I leaned against the window, watching the neon blur past, my stomach churning. Jiang Rowan. I moaned uncomfortably. Slow down. I'm gonna throw up. He glanced at me but didn't speak though the car clearly slowed down. At a red light, he stopped. I covered my mouth, my face pale. He handed me an open bottle of mineral water. I took it and drank deeply, suppressing the nausea. You can't hold your liquor, yet you drank that much. His tone was light, unreadable. None of your business. I mumbled, turning my face to the window. Silence spread through the car. After a long while, he suddenly spoke, his voice clear in the quiet. Shenhazel. Let's talk. My heart jumped. I didn't turn around. About what? The agreement. Don't worry, I remember. I won't cling to you. It's not about the agreement. He cut me off. I turned back confused. Streetlight painted light and shadow across his face. His fingers on the steering wheel tightened slightly, knuckles prominent. At the bar tonight, he paused, choosing his words carefully, what you did just now. Is that interference? My mind was fuzzy. Did what? He turned his head, his gaze heavy on me. Claiming me. 4 words, tapping my heart like a small hammer. My face burned instantly. The alcohol was gone. I stammered. I was afraid you'd get tangled up with those women and embarrass both our families. It's the spirit of the agreement. He stared at me, his eyes behind the lenses deep and unreadable, the corner of his mouth tugging upward in a tiny smile. Oh, is that so? He drawled. Then thank you, Andres. John, for your hard work. The light turned green. He turned back and drove on. I sank into my seat, my heart pounding. Claiming him. Ridiculous. I must have been drunk. For the next few days, I deliberately avoided Jiang Rowan. He didn't contact me either. The little incident at the bar was like a small stone thrown into a lake ripple spread, then quickly faded. But something felt different inside me. My studio took on a new high-end private residence project. The client was a difficult collector with unique, harsh demands. I threw myself into work, trying to drown out that strange, restless feeling. That day, I was at the construction site confirming details with the foreman when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered, "Hello. Shen Hazel?" A middle-aged woman's voice came through, arrogant and condescending. "This is Zhou Yaru." Zhou Yaru. Jiang Rowan's mother. My so-called mother-in-law. Whom I'd only met once at the wedding and who hadn't spoken a word to me the entire time. My heart skipped. "Hello, Auntie. Come to Jiangyan Group headquarters right now. Top floor office." Her tone was commanding, no room for refusal. "Auntie, I'm at a construction site and busy. Could you tell me what's it's about, Rowan?" She cut me off. "Very important. Come immediately." With that, she hung up. I held my phone, my heart racing. About Jiang Rowan. Very important. And I had to go to his company? A bad feeling weighed on me. I gave the foreman a few quick instructions and hurried to Jiangyan Group by taxi. Top floor, CEO's office. A vast floor-to-ceiling window overlooked the bustling CBD. Zhou Yaru sat upright on a leather sofa, dressed in Chanel, her makeup perfect, her well-maintained face expressionless. Across from her sat a young woman. She wore a white dress, gentle demeanor, long hair falling to her waist. Her side profile looked familiar. I walked in. Zhou Yaru lifted her eyelids slightly. "Sit." I sat down on a single sofa nearby, feeling like I was being interrogated. "Let me introduce you." Zhou Yaru gestured to the woman in white. "This is Bai Wei, just back from France. Her father is chairman of Rueha Capital, an old family friend of the Jiangs. Wei and Rowan grew up together." Bai Wei gave me a gentle, proper smile. "Hello, Miss Shen." I remembered instantly. I'd seen her in financial magazines. The Bai family's daughter, a real socialite. I'd seen her in financial magazines. The Bai family's daughter, a real socialite. Also, Jiang Rowan's rumored childhood sweetheart, his first love. My heart sank little by little. "Auntie, what did you want to see me about?" I tried to stay calm. Zhou Yaru picked up a bone china teacup and blew lightly on it. "Hazel, you and Rowan have been married for almost half a year now, haven't you?" "Yes." "How is it?" "Fine." I forced a fake smile. "Fine." Zhou Yaru set the cup down, her sharp gaze sweeping over me. "I heard you've been living separately. You don't even go home. Rowan is still staying at his apartment downtown?" My heart tightened. She'd investigated us? "Auntie, Rowan and I are both busy. Zhou Yaru scoffed. "Too busy to remember the basic duties of a husband and wife." She leaned forward slightly, pressure radiating off her. "Hazel, I know the Shen family isn't doing well right now and needs the Jiang's support. A marriage of convenience, mutual benefit, I understand. But..." She turned cold. "You hold the title of Mrs. Jiang yet can't even keep your husband, letting Rowan get caught up in ugly rumors. That's unacceptable." "Rumors?" I frowned. Zhou Yaru glanced at the quietly sitting Bai Wei. "People are saying you and Rowan are in a fake marriage, in name only. Some even say..." She paused, meaningfully, "They've seen Rowan with other women." Other women? My mind instantly flashed to the woman in the slip dress at the bar. And the first love sitting in front of me. Anger flared in my chest. Auntie, I straightened my back and met her gaze. Do you have proof of these rumors? Or are they just someone's intentional, baseless speculation? My gaze flipped pointedly toward Bai Wei. Bai Wei's expression changed slightly, then she returned to her gentle tone. Don't misunderstand, Miss Shen. Auntie Zhou is just worried about Brother Rowan. The Jiang family's reputation matters. What a lovely way to say worried. What a lovely way to hide behind reputation. So what are you suggesting, Auntie? I looked at Zhou Yaru. Zhou Yaru leaned back, hands folded, elegant but carrying an unchallengeable authority. 2 choices. 1. Settle down, move back in with Rowan, be a proper Mrs. Jiang, have a child soon, and stabilize the marriage. Close that little studio of yours, it's unseemly for you to be out and about working. 2. She paused, her eyes icy. If you can't or won't do that, then step aside gracefully. Plenty of women want the position of Mrs. Jiang. Her gaze drifted vaguely toward Bai Wei. Bai Wei lowered her eyes slightly, her face showing just the right amount of shyness and anticipation. The air in the office turned ice cold. Bright sunlight blazed outside the huge window. But I felt cold all over. So this was what they'd been planning. A forced takeover. Using the family's reputation as a knife, the childhood sweetheart as a chip, forcing me to either obey and be a tame canary, or step down. I clenched my fingers, nails digging into my palms. Anger, humiliation, and an indescribable panic tangled together. Auntie, I heard my own voice, unusually calm. The title of Mrs. Jiang is written on the marriage certificate that Jiang Rowan personally gave me. Whether I step down, and how, shouldn't you ask him first? Zhou Yaru's face darkened. Are you using Rowan to threaten me? I wouldn't dare. I stood up. I just believe marriage is between 2 people. If we need to talk, it should be between Jiang Rowan and me. I looked at Bai Wei, a cold smile on my face. Miss Bai, sorry for the scene. But as long as my marriage certificate with Jiang Rowan is still valid, some positions are better left unclaimed. Bai Wei's face paled. Zhou Yaru slammed her palm on the coffee table. Shen Hazel. What kind of attitude is that? Auntie, I took a deep breath. My attitude is this: my marriage, my career, I decide. I won't trouble you. Goodbye. With that, I ignored their ugly expressions, turned, walked tall, and left the oppressive office. The door closed behind me. I leaned against the cold wall, only then realizing my back was soaked with sweat, my hands and feet icy and trembling. The elevator went down. The weightlessness made my stomach churn. My phone rang. It was Jiang Rowan. I stared at his name flashing on the screen for the first time. It felt piercing. I muted it and didn't answer. He sent a WeChat message soon after. My mom talked to you. I didn't reply. A few minutes later, another. Where are you? I'll pick you up. I stared at the message, my chest stuffed with waterlogged cotton, heavy, stuffy, suffocating. Pick me up. Take me where? Back to that cold, performative home? Or face more humiliation and pressure from his noble mother? I irritably turned off my screen. I took a taxi back to the studio. Lin Shao noticed my pale face. Sister Hazel, what's wrong? Did something happen? I waved him off and locked myself in the office. I looked at the design plans covering my desk, the flashing CAD lines on my screen, but I couldn't focus on a single thing. Zhou Yaru's words circled in my head like a curse. Holding the position of Mrs. Jiang, I can't even keep your husband. Rumors. With other women, step aside. Plenty want your place. Bai Wei's gentle, secretly triumphant face kept flashing. And Jiang Rowan. Did he know his mother had spoken to me? Did he know what his mother and Bai Wei were planning? If he knew. My heart sank deeper, falling into a cold, deep ocean. My phone rang again. Still Jiang Rowan. I stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it lit up again. This time it was Su Wanwan. I answered. Hazel. Are you okay? Wanwan's voice was urgent. I just heard. Did Jiang Rowan's mother hassle you with that fake innocent girl? News traveled fast. Yeah. My voice was hoarse. Damn that old witch. And by way, acting like a pure little flower. Wanwan cursed. What are they doing? Forcing you out. Where's Jiang Rowan? Is he dead? What did he say? I don't know. I rubbed my aching temples. He called and messaged. I ignored him. You idiot. You have to ask him. Wanwan panicked. This whole thing depends on Jiang Rowan. If he's on his mother's side or lets Bai Wei stick around, divorce him. We won't take this crap. Wanwan's words stabbed into my heart. Divorce? The thought appeared so clearly for the first time. We married originally for both families' benefit. Now the Shen family's crisis had eased, thanks to his quiet help. My studio was on track. I no longer needed this tied-down marriage, did I? I closed my eyes. But the memory flashed that night at the bar, his burning palm around my wrist. And in the car, when he asked, was that claiming me? With those deep, unreadable eyes. My heart was a tangled mess. Wanwan, let me think. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, exhausted. Outside the window, the sky gradually darkened. My phone lit up again. It was a short message from Jiang Rowan. Wait for me at home. Concise, with his usual commanding tone. Home. Which home? My small apartment? Or the marriage house, the ultra-luxury penthouse in the east that we never lived in together? I stared at the message, my chest tight. Why should I wait just because he said so? I grabbed my bag, locked the office, and took a taxi to Su Wanwan's place. I needed to calm down. And a place to avoid him, just for now. Wanwan poured me a cup of hot water, fuming. That Bai Wei, I looked her up. What childhood sweetheart. Jiang Rowan never cared about her. She chased him in college, got rejected, then went abroad to polish her image. Now that her dad's Rueha capital is big, she's back to steal what she didn't earn. Disgusting. And his mom, she's lost her mind. I held the warm cup and said nothing. Jiang Rowan didn't have feelings for her. Then why had Do Yaru been so sure, bringing her to force me out? The doorbell rang suddenly. Wanwan went to open it and froze. President Jiang. My heart jolted. Jiang Rowan stood in the doorway, looking a little worn, his face dark. He didn't look at Wanwan. His gaze caught straight past her and locked onto me. Come with me. His voice was low, but unyielding. Wanwan immediately stepped in front of me. President Jiang, Hazel's upset today. Talk tomorrow. Jiang Rowan ignored her, walked straight up to me, and reached for my wrist. I flinched away. His hand hung in the air. The air went still. Shen Hazel, he looked at me, his eyes behind his glasses complicated. Let's talk. About what? I lifted my head, trying to keep my voice steady. About how your mother brought your childhood sweetheart today and told me either be an obedient canary and have babies, or step down nicely. Jiang Rowan's brows furrowed tightly. She went to you, that was her choice, not mine. Is there a difference? I pulled a bitter smile. Jiang Rowan, we had a marriage of convenience. We agreed no interference, no trouble. But now, your family, your childhood friend, they're all interfering with my life, disturbing my work. I grew more agitated, the day's frustration and anger boiling over. Your mother told me to close my studio. On what grounds? I built that from nothing. It's my life's work. Not some toy the Jiang family can throw. Away whenever they want. And that by way. The way she looked at you, she wanted to tear me apart on the spot. Your mother might as well have told me to move over for her. Jiang Rowan, I can't keep acting this anymore. I looked at him, eyes red. Your mother's. Right, I'm Mrs. Jiang in name only, can't even keep my husband's heart, and let rumors spread about you. I'm failing at this. Let's get a divorce. The last 5 words tore out of me, using every ounce of strength I had. The room went dead silent. Wan gasped. The second I said divorce, Jiang Rowan's face turned ashen. His jaw tightened, his eyes sharp as ice picks, pinning me in place. Shin Hazel, his voice was dangerously low, suppressed anger simmering beneath, say that again. I trembled under his gaze, but I couldn't take it back. I said, I met his cold eyes, word by word, let's get a divorce. The agreement ends early. I'll give up the position of Mrs. Jiang to your precious first love. First love. Jiang Rowan looked like he heard something absurd, a cold smile tugging at his lips. Who told you she was my first love? Do I need someone to tell me? My chest heaved. Your mother paraded her in front of me. She practically called me unworthy to my face. Jiang Rowan took a deep breath, clearly fighting to control his rage. He stepped forward, his tall frame overwhelming. Wan tensed to stop him, but one look from him silenced her. He stopped right in front of me, close enough to see the dark storm in his eyes. Shin Hazel, his voice was low and rough, with a seriousness and defeat I'd never heard before. Are you blind? I froze. By way means nothing to me. He stared into my eyes, clear and firm. Never has. I'll handle my mother. She won't bother you again. As for the rumors. He paused, a flash of sharpness in his eyes. I'll make them disappear completely. I was stunned by his sudden honesty and dominance. But. No buts. He cut me off, tone final. Divorce? Not happening. He suddenly reached out and grabbed my wrist tightly. Strong enough that I couldn't pull away. Come home with me. Which home? I asked instinctively. He looked at me deeply, his gaze complicated, then spoke one word. Our home. The black Bentley sped through the night. Jiang Rowan was silent the whole ride, his jaw tight, the veins on his hand gripping the wheel slightly prominent. The atmosphere was suffocating. I leaned against the passenger seat, watching the blurring lights outside, my heart in chaos. The courage I mustered at Wan's place had deflated like a punctured balloon. In its place was deeper confusion. And a faint, unnameable flutter. He said by way meant nothing. He said he would handle his mother. He said divorce was out of the question. What? What did he really want? The car didn't go back to my small apartment. It headed for the ultra-luxury residential area in the east of the city. It finally stopped in the underground parking lot of a skyscraper. The elevator went straight to the top floor. The fingerprint lock beeped softly. The door opened. I stepped into a huge, minimalist space that screamed luxury. Wide open view, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's glittering night. The air smelled faintly of clean cedar just like him. It was my first time actually stepping into the so-called marriage home. Cold, empty, lifeless. Like a carefully built, icy show flat. Jiang Rowan took off his suit jacket, tossed it casually on the sofa, and loosened his tie. Sit anywhere. His voice sounded tired. I stood in the entrance, awkward. He walked to the open kitchen island, poured a glass of water, and drank most of it in one go. His Adam's apple moved, his side profile under the ceiling lights looking cold. And lonely. I hesitated. Where will I sleep? He put down the glass and turned to look at me. His eyes were deep, assessing, holding something I couldn't understand. Master bedroom is down there. He pointed to the end of the hallway. Guest room is on the other side. Okay. I relaxed and headed for the guest room with my bag. Shin Hazel. He stopped me. I froze. He walked over and stopped in front of me. So close. The clean cedar scent on him, mixed with faint tobacco probably from a banquet, wrapped around me overwhelmingly. Why did you ask for a divorce? He looked down at me, his voice low and heavy. My chest tightened. I already said. I looked away. Your mom, by way. And the agreement. Those are all excuses. He cut me off, certain. I want the truth. The truth. What truth? Was I supposed to admit that when I saw his mother with By Way, I felt an indescribable panic and jealousy? Admit I was terrified he would agree? Admit that I might, maybe, sort of, have feelings for him? No. I shook my head violently, chasing the terrifying thought away. There is no truth or lie. I lifted my chin, forcing toughness. I just can't keep pretending anymore. It's exhausting. Both families are fine now, no need to stay tied together. Tied together? He repeated the words, his eyes darkening dangerously. He suddenly lifted his hand, his long fingers gripping my chin, forcing me to look up at him. Shin Hazel, he stepped closer, his warm breath almost brushing my cheek. In your eyes, this is just being tied together. His gaze was too invasive, like an invisible net trapping me. My heart raced out of control, my face burning. What else? My voice trembled. He stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly laughed. It was a faint smile, self-mocking, with a bitterness I couldn't understand. Fine. He let go and stepped back, putting distance between us. The suffocating pressure vanished. But something in my chest felt empty. It's late. Go rest. He turned around, his voice returning to its usual coldness. There are new toiletries and pajamas in the guest room. He walked toward the master bedroom, his back straight but lonely. Jiang Rowan. I called before I could stop myself. He paused, not turning around. You. My throat was dry. What? What do you really want? He was silent for a few seconds. Just as I thought he wouldn't answer, his low voice came, heavy with exhaustion and helplessness. Shin Hazel, sometimes I really want to crack open your head and see if it's filled with concrete. With that, he didn't hesitate. He walked into the master bedroom and closed the door. A soft click. The huge living room was left with only me and the bright, cold city lights outside the window. I stood in the empty center of the room, his last words echoing in my head. Concrete. What did he mean? Calling me stupid? Or something else? My heart was racing like a trapped rabbit, chaotic and unruly. I ruffled my hair irritably and carried my bag into the guest room. The guest room was large, decorated in cold gray and white, spotless, clearly rarely used. I took a hot shower, changed into the prepared silk pajamas, and lay on the wide, soft bed, but I couldn't sleep at all. I tossed and turned. Jiang Rowan's words, Zhou Yaru's pressure, Bai Wei's gentle but sharp smile. And that night at the bar, the burning warmth of his palm around my wrist. Scenes flashed before my eyes. My heart was in a complete mess. I didn't know how long had passed before I was so thirsty I got up to get water in the living room. I opened the door quietly. Only a dim floor lamp was left on. In the warm yellow light, I saw a slender figure standing on the balcony. Jiang Rowan. He wasn't asleep. He wore a dark silk nightgown, his back to me, leaning against the huge floor-to-ceiling window. A cigarette was between his fingers, the red tip glowing and fading in the dark. Outside the window was the deep night and distant neon. His back, against the endless night, looked unusually lonely and desolate. I had never seen Jiang Rowan like this. Gone was the strength and coldness of the day, only heavy exhaustion remained. Some corner of my heart felt pricked, softly. It hurt a little. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. Hearing footsteps, he turned his head slightly. In the dimness, I couldn't see his expression clearly, only the ash falling silently from his cigarette. Still awake? He asked, his voice a little hoarse. I stood next to him, also leaning against the cold glass. Thirsty. He fell silent and stubbed out the cigarette. A faint tobacco scent filled the air. We stood side by side, watching the sleeping city outside. Neither of us spoke. The silence stretched, but it didn't feel awkward. Only the distant sound of cars occasionally drifted in. My mom, he suddenly broke the silence. I'll talk to her clearly. She won't trouble you again. By the way, he paused, his tone carrying a faint coldness, she won't appear in front of you again. The studio, he turned to look at me, his eyes bright in the dark. Keep doing it if you want. No one can make you close it. If you need any resources, tell me. My heart trembled slightly at his words. Thank you, I whispered. He gave a soft and turned back to the window. A long while passed. Shinhazel, he called my name, his voice clear in the quiet night. Can we? He spoke as if struggling, try. Not following the agreement anymore. My heart skipped a beat. I snapped my head toward him. The warm light outlined his perfect side profile, his tight jaw, and his slightly moving Adam's apple. What was he saying? Not following the agreement. Then what? He seemed to read the shock and confusion in my eyes. He turned to face me. We were very close. I could clearly smell the crisp cedar scent on him, mixed with faint tobacco. His gaze settled heavily on my face, with a focus and carefulness I'd never seen before. His Adam's apple bobbed, his voice low and clear, as if making a crucial decision. Can we try being a real couple? Boom! It was like fireworks exploding in my head. I was completely stunned. I stared at him, forgetting to breathe. Real couple? Was he serious? Or did he have some other motive? I finally found my voice, trembling in disbelief. Jiang Rowan, do you know what you're saying? I know exactly. He stepped closer, closing the distance even more. Warm breath brushed my hair. His eyes were as deep as a whirlpool, almost pulling me in. Shinhazel, he said my name, each word striking my heart. I know it's sudden. We have too much history. Maybe not all pleasant. But, he paused, his gaze burning, over the past few months, or even earlier. Some things have changed. I've watched you stay up late revising plans, fight for your studio, stand your ground against difficult clients. You're not just the Shinhazel who used to argue with me anymore. That night at the bar, when you rushed over and claimed me like an angry cat. A very faint smile tugged at his lips. I was happy. My face burned instantly. I wasn't claiming you. I just didn't want you to embarrass yourself. He responded softly, with an indulgent smile. Whatever you say. He reached out, his long fingers slightly cool, gently brushing a strand of hair from my cheek. His fingertips grazed my skin, sending a small shiver through me. Shinhazel, his voice dropped, husky and captivating. Give me a chance. Give us a chance. Try to get to know the real each other. Not the daughter of the Shin family, not the son of the Jiang family. Just Shinhazel and Jiang Rowan. He was too close. Close enough to see his distinct eyelashes, to feel the heat radiating from his body. Close enough that my heartbeat sounded like drums. My mind went blank. The past arguments, the cold agreement terms, the family pressure and scheming. All blurred and faded in this moment. All I could see was his focused, sincere gaze, and his pleading "let's try." Without thinking, I heard my own tiny voice. How? A flash of light instantly appeared in his eyes, like a shooting star streaking across the night sky. The next second, a cool kiss, carrying faint tobacco and cedar, landed gently on my lips. Very light, like a feather brushing past. But it felt like electricity, shattering all my defenses. I froze, forgetting to breathe. He didn't go deeper, just a soft touch, then pulled back slightly. His forehead rested against mine. Our breaths tangled. Like this. His hoarse voice held a trace of nervousness. And hope. Is that okay? My brain completely shut down. My cheeks were burning hot enough to fry an egg. The feeling lingering on my lips was as clear as a brand. Looking into his eyes right in front of me, I saw a smile, stunned me reflected clearly. After what felt like a century, I heard myself whisper a soft mm. As if granted permission, the light in his eyes burst out brightly. He lowered his head again. This time, it was no longer a light touch. His kiss was tentative and gentle at first, then deepened into a quiet demand. Clumsy, but burning hot. Like a fire, igniting me instantly. I responded awkwardly, my hands unconsciously wrapping around his shoulders. Outside the window, the city slept. Inside, two hearts that had once been guarded now clumsily drew close, burning silently in the quiet night. After that kiss, everything felt different. And yet, nothing had changed. Jiang Rowan kept his word. Joyaru never bothered me again. When we met at family gatherings, she still carried that distant, superior air, but at least she didn't pick on me. Bai Wei disappeared completely from my life. According to Wan's gossip, her father sent her abroad to expand overseas markets. The studio's projects went smoothly. The difficult collector's private mansion design was highly praised, becoming a signature case. Orders grew steadily. Days flowed peacefully. The relationship between Jiang Rowan and me entered a strange trial run phase. We still lived in the luxury penthouse. I still slept in the guest room. But something had quietly shifted. He no longer left early and returned late, turning down banquets when he could. I got used to drawing by the bright living room window while he sat quietly on the sofa, reading documents or working on his laptop. Soft music played in the air, mixed with the smell of coffee. We didn't disturb each other, yet there was a strange sense of peace. Sometimes when I stayed up late, he would silently heat a cup of milk and set it next to me. Sometimes when his stomach acted up, I would frown and clumsily cook him a light porridge following the doctor's recipe. The taste needed improvement, but he always finished it quietly. We started eating together. At first in silence. Later, he would ask about my studio. I would listen to him talk about the troubles at his company. He never went into details, just general stuff. Occasionally, we chatted about trivial things. Even bickered lightly. But the sharpness was gone, replaced by an indescribable ambiguity and testing. Like two clumsy beginners, carefully feeling out the boundaries of getting closer. Neither of us mentioned the kiss again. Nor did we take another step forward. But subtle feelings hung in the air. Eyes meeting while reading documents, fingertips brushing when handing things over. Each sent ripples through the quiet. This calm, gently rippling days lasted until Grandpa Zhang's 80th birthday. The birthday banquet was grand. It took over the top hotel ballroom in the city, filled with political and business celebrities. As the Jiang family's eldest granddaughter-in-law, I couldn't avoid it. Jiang Rowan specially took me to pick out a dress early. A champagne-colored long train gown, elegantly cut, making my skin look fair. He chose it himself. He didn't even blink when paying. On the day of the banquet, I linked my arm through his and stepped into the glittering, bustling ballroom. Brilliant lights, loud chatter. Countless eyes focused on us. Some were judging, some curious, some envious, and some Hidden jealousy. Jiang Rowan wore a sharp black tailored suit, tall and imposing. He turned his head slightly and whispered in my ear, "Don't be nervous." Warm breath brushed my ear. My fingertips trembled slightly, but I kept a proper smile. "Who's nervous?" He chuckled softly and tightened his grip on my arm. His hand was large, warm and dry, with a reassuring strength. Grandpa Jiang beamed when he saw us, taking my hand and praising me repeatedly. Zhou Yaro was also there, her expression still distant, but at least she kept up polite appearances. Socializing was unavoidable. Jiang Rowan led me through the guests with ease. When he introduced me, his tone was natural. "My wife, Shen Hazel." Not Miss Shen. My wife. The title made my heart skip. I could feel the complicated, subtle glances falling on us as he said it. Especially from some fashionable young socialites, their disappointment and curiosity were obvious. I straightened my back, my smile growing calmer. Jiang Rowan seemed pleased with my performance. When he glanced down at me occasionally, his eyes held a faint approval and tenderness. Halfway through the banquet, Jiang Rowan was caught up talking business with important partners. I went to get a drink alone. As I approached the dessert table, I heard several deliberately lowered voices. "See that? That's Mrs. Zhang. From the Shen family. She's just so-so. What does Rowan even see in her? SHHH. Keep it down. I heard it's just a business marriage, no feelings. Rowan has someone in his heart, really? Boo. From the Bai family, I think. There were rumors before. The voices weren't loud, but they pricked like needles. My fingers tightened around my champagne flute. I was about to turn and leave, when a girl in a pink strapless dress stumbled toward me, holding a glass of red wine. "Oops!" she cried out, and the red wine splashed directly on to my skirt. The champagne-colored fabric bloomed with an ugly dark red stain. The area went quiet for a moment. Countless eyes focused on me. I'm sorry. It was an accident." The girl in pink apologized hurriedly, but there was no real regret in her face, only a hint of satisfaction. I recognized her. Zhang Qian, the Zhang family's daughter. She chased Jiang Rowan before and been rejected. I stared at my ruined skirt, anger flaring. "It's fine." I lifted my head, forcing a smile. "Miss Lan, watch where you're going next time. Or maybe wear glasses." Wang Qian's face changed. "You. What's wrong?" A low voice cut in. Jiang Rowan had walked over at some point, his expression dark. His gaze swept over my stained skirt, then to Zhang Qian, and turned icy. "Rowan Gidge." Zhang Qian immediately put on a wronged face. "I really didn't mean it. She is my wife." Jiang Rowan cut her off coldly, a warning in his tone. "Miss Lan, mind your words." Wang Qian turned pale. Jiang Rowan didn't look at her again. He took off his suit jacket and draped it over me, covering the mess. Then, in front of everyone, he bent down naturally and lifted me into his arms. "Ah!" I yelped, instinctively wrapping my arms around his neck. "Don't move." He spoke softly, carrying me through the shocked, envious, and jealous stares, striding out of the ballroom. Behind us, silence and uproar. I pressed against his solid, warm chest, listening to his steady heartbeat, my cheeks burning. "Jiang Rowan, put me down," I protested quietly. "Everyone's watching. Let them watch." He glanced down at me, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "Let them see exactly who Mrs. Jiang is." My heart jolted hard at his words. It felt like being dipped in honey. He carried me all the way down the long corridor to his suite upstairs. He set me down on the sofa. Then he knelt on one knee, took out his phone, and called, "Send up a clean women's dress, size." He gave my exact measurements. I stared at him in surprise. He hung up and looked up at me. The wet clothes are uncomfortable. Take a shower inside. The dress will be here soon. Watching him kneel in front of me, my chest felt warm and a little sore. Jiang Rowan, I whispered, why? Are you being so nice to me? He paused for a moment, then lifted his head, his deep eyes locking onto mine. You're my wife. He said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. But I hesitated, before. Hazel, he suddenly reached out and brushed my cheek, his fingertips warm. I meant what I said on the balcony. Trying to be a real couple. Not acting. His gaze was too sincere, too burning. I looked at him, and my unease and doubts melted like snow in the sun. So, I gathered my courage and met his eyes. How long is the trial period? He froze for a second, then genuine laughter spread in his eyes. Like ice melting into spring water. Your call. He laced his fingers through mine. MRS. John. MRS. John. This time, when I heard it, a little flower bloomed in my heart. After that day, Jiang Rowan and I entered a new stage. We still didn't move into the same room. But my things in the guest room kept piling up. I also went into his master bedroom occasionally, usually to find documents, or to bring him medicine when his stomach hurt. The boundaries blurred. Two parallel lines began to cross. He started waiting for me to get off work. Sometimes the driver came, sometimes he drove himself. We ate out together, trying new restaurants. He commented on my design, still sharp, but no longer just criticism. I handed him chrysanthemum tea to cool down when he was frustrated with difficult clients, and complained along with him. Days were plain, but warm in a steady, quiet way. The studio took on a large commercial complex public space design project. It was big, with high standards. My team and I practically lived at the studio. Jiang Rowan was also busy. His company's important cross-border acquisition was at a critical stage. Our time together shrank. Sometimes when I came home late at night, he was already asleep. On the dining table, there would always be soup or snacks kept warm by the housekeeper. Sometimes he came back from banquets smelling of alcohol, and I'd stumble to the kitchen to make him honey water. We didn't talk much, but there was a silent understanding. One day, I was at the construction site confirming a complicated structural issue. When my phone rang, it was Jiang Rowan's assistant, Shou Yang. MRS. Jiang, Shou Yang sounded anxious. President Zhang's stomach problem flared up badly. Medicine isn't working. He's in his office. My heart tightened. Did you call the doctor? The doctor's on the way. But he has an important video conference this afternoon. I'm coming right now. I immediately handed the site work to Lin Shao and drove straight to Jiangyan Group. Top floor CEO office. Jiang Rowan leaned pale against the large leather chair, pressing hard on his stomach, fine cold sweat on his forehead. His brows were tightly furrowed, his lips pale. He looked surprised when I walked in, frowning even more. Why are you here? The construction site shut up. I cut him off, walking quickly to press the back of my hand to his forehead. It was cool. Where's the medicine? I looked at Zhou Yang. He took it, but it's not working. Shou Yang looked worried. The family doctor arrived soon, diagnosing acute gastritis. He needed rest and insu. But Jiang Rowan's video conference that afternoon was with key European partners, related to the final acquisition. He insisted on attending. Jiang Rowan, are you trying to kill yourself? I was so angry I could yell. He glanced at me, weak but stubborn. This meeting is important. I knew how much pressure he was under. I'll take it for you. The words left my mouth before I thought. Jiang Rowan and the doctor both stared. You. He looked doubtful. What about me? I straightened my back. Don't forget, I'm a Shen too. I minored in finance and management. I skimmed your acquisition materials. I'm not as good as you, but I can hold the line, buy time, and handle the foreigners. No, he tried to refuse. I decide if it's no. I showed a strength I never had before, turning to Shou Yang. Sort out the key points and possible issues in simple terms. And find me a proper business suit. To the doctor, start the Si now. Set up a lounge so he can listen but not be seen. I commanded sharply, like a general taking charge. Jiang Rowan looked at me, his pale face complicated. Eventually, his tight brows slowly relaxed, and a weak but real smile tugged at his lips. Okay. He said one soft word, full of trust. And a faint, unspoken dependence. The next 2 hours were chaotic. I changed into a sharp black business suit, pulled my hair up, and put on Jiang Rowan's spare gold-rimmed plane glasses to look more professional, sitting in his CEO chair. On the huge screen in front of me were several serious blonde European executives. Shou Yang stood not far behind me, nervous. Jiang Rowan was in the lounge with Si, listening through the internal line. The meeting began. They clearly noticed someone new in the main seat, their tone doubtful and probing. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. I introduced myself in fluent English, explaining that President Jiang was unable to attend due to a sudden illness and that I would be speaking on his behalf. My pace was steady, my pronunciation clear, and my manner calm and dignified. I understood the key points Shou Yang had prepared perfectly. I also remembered the ideas and bottom lines for the project that Jiang Rowan had occasionally mentioned at home. Facing the other side's doubts and tough questions, I responded professionally and concisely. When I came to details I wasn't sure about, I gently steered them back to core issues or said I needed to verify the data, while quietly noting them down for Shou Yang to check immediately. Through the earpiece, Jiang Rowan occasionally whispered a few key reminders. His voice was weak, but it anchored me like a compass. The 2-hour meeting was a battle without smoke. By the end, my back was soaked with cold sweat. But the other side finally expressed understanding for President Zhang's condition, acknowledged our preliminary agreement on key terms, and agreed to delay the final signing by 1 week. The screen went dark. I let out a long breath, feeling completely drained as if I just fought a hard war. Shou Yang excitedly gave me a thumbs up. MRS. Dong. You are amazing. The lounge door opened. Jiang Rowan was wheeled out by a nurse, still on Si. His face was still pale, but the way he looked at me was incredibly bright. Like it was filled with shattered starlight. Shen Hazel, his voice was hoarse but warm with amusement. And pride. How many more surprises do you have that I don't know about? I took off the glasses, rubbed my throbbing temples, and glared at him. No surprises, just a lot of scares. Jiang Rowan, if you keep being this reckless, I'm not saving you next time. He laughed softly, his chest vibrating gently. The nurse tactfully wheeled him back to the lounge to continue the Si. I followed. We were alone in the room. He leaned against the bed, watching me quietly. I grew flustered under his gaze and walked over to tuck the blanket around him. What are you looking at? Close your eyes and rest. But he suddenly reached out and took my hand. His was still a little cold, but his palm burned. Hazel, he called my name, not the full thing this time. Thank you. His eyes were too gentle, too focused. My heart started racing again, traitorously. Don't be silly. It's only right. I looked away. It's not right. He held me tighter, not roughly, but with sincere promise. From now on, he looked at me, speaking slowly and clearly, my life is yours to take care of. My face burned bright red in an instant. I tried to pull my hand away, but he held on even firmer. Who wants to take care of your life? I insisted stubbornly. But he smiled, weak but utterly genuine. If you don't, who will? He stroked the back of my hand lightly, his eyes softening like spring water. Mrs. John. From that day on, the words Mrs. Jiang seemed to take on a whole new meaning. No longer a cold title, but a warm bond. Jiang Rowan kept his word. He started taking his health seriously, eating on time, turning down unnecessary banquets. The acquisition was signed smoothly. He cleared an entire week just to make it up to me. Make up for what? I asked casually while drawing. To repay my Mrs. Jiang for saving my life. He said solemnly. Where do you want to go? I thought for a moment. The beach. I haven't seen the sea in so long. So we flew to a warm tropical island. No work, no socializing, only sun, sand, waves, and each other. We were like any ordinary couple. He walked barefoot with me on the beach, collecting seashells. I dragged him snorkeling to see colorful tropical fish. He taught me to surf. I clumsily fell into the water again and again, and he laughed as he pulled me up. In the evening, we ate at an open-air ocean view restaurant. The sea breeze was soft, the sky full of stars. He raised his glass and looked at me. To Mrs. John. I smiled and clinked glasses with him. To Mr. John. In that moment, looking at his gentle eyes under the starlight, my heart overflowed with a peace and happiness I had never known. It turned out that marrying your arch rival wasn't all bad. On the last night of the holiday, we sat on the swing chair on the villa's terrace, listening to the waves. I leaned against his shoulder, half asleep. Hazel, he called softly. I mumbled sleepily. Can we? He hesitated, sounding a little nervous. Move your things from the guest room to the master bedroom. Sleep instantly fled. My heart raced. My cheeks burned. I didn't say anything. He waited a while, then looked down at me, his voice holding a faint unease. Is that okay? Under the moonlight, his eyes shone like stars. I looked at him, and my heart melted completely. Those days of sharp conflict already felt like a distant, blurry dream. The man in front of me, the rival I once gritted my teeth against, had become the warmth I most wanted to hold close. I lifted my hands and wrapped them around his neck. I pressed a soft kiss to his lips. Then I buried my face in his warm neck. In a voice barely audible, I said, "Okay." After returning from the island, life fell into a normal rhythm. Yet everywhere was sweet novelty. My things officially moved from the guest room to the master bedroom. It felt a little strange at first. Sleeping in his ridiculously huge bed, listening to the soft breathing of someone else beside me, felt like a dream. He would habitually pull me into his arms when I was half asleep. I would hug his waist from behind while he shaved in the morning, pressing my face against his broad back. We ate breakfast together in the morning sunlight. Late at night in the living room, I drew while he read documents, occasionally looking up and smiling at each other. Just like any ordinary couple. But with a deeper, hard-won appreciation. The studio's projects grew bigger. Lin Shao became a reliable right-hand man, and we began thinking about expanding. Jian Rowan gave me lots of practical advice and connections, but never interfered with my decisions. He said, "Empress Zhang's career should be her own to run." Soon, my birthday arrived. I didn't want a big party, just planned dinner with Wan Wan and a few close friends in the evening. During the day, Jiang Rowan said he had company business and would be late. I was a little disappointed, but didn't say anything. In the afternoon, I was working at the studio, when Lin Shao suddenly rushed in, looking strange. "Sister Hazel, look downstairs." I walked to the window, confused. Down below was a huge ice cream truck. It was covered in colorful cartoon patterns and had a big banner. "Happy birthday to the cutest little Shen Hazel in the world." Me. Then the door opened. A man in a ridiculous clown costume, with an over-the-top rainbow afro and face paint, walked clumsily toward the building entrance holding a huge bouquet of pink cotton candy. Despite the silly outfit, the height, the way he walked, my eyes widened in shock. Jiang Rowan. What on earth was he doing? My phone buzzed like crazy. Wan's messages flooded in. Hazel. Look downstairs. Is your husband crazy? Ha 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 ha, I'm dying. President Jiang is really committing. Calm down quick. Photo op. Once in a lifetime. I covered my face, too embarrassed to look. But I still couldn't help peeking out the window. Jiang Rowan stood there in that ridiculous outfit, holding the giant cotton candy bouquet, surrounded by passers-by staring and taking photos. He looked a little awkward, but forced a professional clown smile, looking toward the building entrance. He looked so silly, and yet so cute. Something heavy hit my heart. Warm and soft. I couldn't hold back any longer. I grabbed my bag and ran downstairs. As soon as I stepped out of the building, the rainbow clown spotted me. His eyes lit up, and he immediately ran toward me with the cotton candy. Beautiful lady, he purposely pitched his voice in a silly way, today is your lucky day. The greatest clown in the century, Master Jiang, has sweet wishes. And the biggest cotton candy in the world for you. He pushed the fluffy pink cotton candy bouquet into my arms. The sweet scent of cotton candy wrapped around me instantly. Laughter and camera shutters filled the air. I was flustered and embarrassed, my face burning. Jiang Rowan. Are you insane? I whispered angrily, but my eyes stoned unsteadily. Through the funny face paint, he looked at me deeply, his eyes so gentle they might overflow. He suddenly dropped to one knee awkward in his clown pants and pulled a small velvet box from behind him like a magic trick. He opened it. Inside was an extremely simple, yet dazzling diamond ring. The main stone was a pure pear-shaped diamond, surrounded by tiny pink diamonds, like an elegant blooming pear blossom. My favorite style, low-key but unique. A louder gasp and cheer erupted around us. Hazel, he looked up at me, his voice slightly trembling through the clown get-up, but clear and solemn. Before, we fought like two childish kids. Later, we were tied by interests, like two bad actors. Now, he paused, his gaze burning and sincere. I want to be real family with you. Not an agreement. Not a tie. I want you to be the first person I see when I wake up every morning. I want to share all my joys and sorrows with you. I want to hold your hand until we're old and gray. Hazel, he took a deep breath, each word heavy and clear. I love you. This love came late. But luckily, not too late. Will you give me a chance to spend the rest of my life making it up to you? Marry me. Okay. All the noise around seemed to fade away at once. The world went quiet, leaving only my pounding heartbeat and his eyes bright with stars and oceans. Tears spilled out without warning. The years of bickering, the cold agreement, the cautious testing, the clumsy closeness. Scenes flashed before my eyes. In the end, they settled on his ridiculous, yet utterly sincere face right now. So rivals could turn into husbands, and even become so much better than I imagined. I held the huge pink cotton candy bouquet, laughing and crying, nodding hard. My voice choked. Yes. Huge joy burst into his eyes. He stood up and pulled me tightly into his arms. The giant cotton candy was squeezed between us, fluffy and sweet. Around us, deafening applause, whistles, and cheers erupted. He lowered his head, and through the funny clown nose, kissed my lips. The sweetness of cotton candy, mixed with his crisp scent, and the salt of my tears. It became the most touching taste I had ever known. The golden glow of the setting sun stretched our embracing shadows long, long. 3 years later. The marriage agreement between Jiang Rowan and me had long expired. But no one mentioned it anymore. Our marriage certificate lay quietly in the safe, never to be changed again. My design studio had grown into a sizable firm, moving into a bright, spacious new office. Jiang Rowan was still the decisive President Jiang in the business world. But on the ring finger of his left hand, there was now a matching men's ring, low-key, but impossible to miss. As soon as work ended, his call came on time. MRS. Jiang. His voice smiled over the phone. What would you like tonight? Chef Jiang is at your service. I closed the last blueprint, looked at the gorgeous sunset outside the window, and smiled. I want that porridge you made for me the first time. There was a short silence, then a helpless low laugh. All right. Though it might still taste terrible. It doesn't matter, I said with a smile. MRS. Jiang doesn't mind. I hung up, packed my things, and went downstairs. The black Bentley was already waiting at the door. The window rolled down, revealing his still handsome face. He held his hand out to me. I smiled and ran over, placing my hand in his warm palm. The car merged into the evening rush hour traffic. A soft love song played on the radio. I leaned against his shoulder, watching the city lights turn on outside. Jiang Rowan. Did I ever tell you? I lifted my head, looking at his gentle profile in the twilight, that it's the best thing to be married to you. He turned his head, his deep eyes reflecting the city lights and a tiny me. He leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. This line, he whispered against my forehead, smiling softly, should be mine. MRS. Jiang, marrying you is the best surprise of my life. I laughed and buried myself in his arms. Outside the window, the city's neon lights flowed brightly. Inside the car, our fingers were laced together, palms warm. Forward, all the way. Foes can become soulmates. Jiang Wan and Shen Hazel, bitter rivals, tied the knot for family interests. Yet through getting along, they saw each other's merits, broke free from prejudices, and let go of their defenses. From a fake marriage bound by benefits, they grew into lovers who cherished each other sincerely. It teaches us not to be trapped by stereotypes. Sincerity and tolerance in companionship can melt estrangement, make people better together, and let love grow quietly in understanding.